Welcome back, Profit Takers. It's your favorite YouTuber. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today's Sunday, getting ready for the week. And, I was looking at the previous week and we had a lot of, day zeros show up every week. Let me just say that. Day zeros show up every week. So I wanted to do a video specifically about day zero. I've learned a lot as my trading has progressed in this amazing journey that sometimes I'm just like, why can't we get to the good part? Can we just get to the good part like right now? So I hope this video, after I explain what the day zero is and when you can expect to see it, that this is the good part for you. Okay? Because it definitely is for me, and I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So we're always looking for the best trade setup and the best time, the best thing to do, right, is to wait for the particular signals to show up. And for me, one of my favorite signals, obviously, is when the dashboard is showing a peak one formation, low or high, and then it's showing that it already broken the level, right? So that to me is telling me that, okay, we have a new peak that's confirmed because it broke the other side of the range. Okay, so right now we're looking at Euro FX, and it closed Friday at zero, right? So I'm glad that I was able to capture this because oftentimes it'll be a zero. And then by the time I get to recording the video, it's already the next day in the trading world. And then this has changed from 0 to 1. So I'm glad I was able to capture this video, this zero peak formation low, to illustrate this. So as we know, breakouts do fail all the time, right? And it took me a long time to figure that out. But basically, guys, when you see this, it's often after the 3-day breakout. Okay, let me get my pen out here so I can draw so you guys can see what I mean. So we had on Monday, so first of all, this past week, right, we closed in breakout. It was a first green day, and then we had our closing line here. So you always want to extend Friday's closing price for the week. Just go ahead and project that. All right, because the idea here is that it breaks out, which it did, right? And then we are able to take a long trade from the low, or usually it's right at the closing price. We want to always use the closing price as our entry. Okay, and that's what happened on Monday. We're able to do that. So this market also closed in breakout, right? And also I like to illustrate closing in breakout with these little green boxes. So the green boxes, it closed in breakout. And then when I do the boxes that are not filled, that's telling me that it broke out of this level, right? We got a higher high for that day. And I want to know that, right? Did we get the higher high inside of the range, right? Because that's a signal for what? The dump and pump, okay? And then, so this is our first day, right? That we closed out of the range and we're in breakout. We're in the breakout market. And then the second time we closed out of the range, right? We broke through the previous day high. We're in breakout again, right? And then the third day we closed. Okay, so this is important. So we have now 3 days of breakouts. It's like my favorite trade setup when it does the stair step like this, right? Then we come into day 4, Thursday, right? Now, again, I'm just calling it day 4 because it's it's the 4th day after the 3-day template that has occurred because we had 3 days of breakout. So essentially, if you are following Stacy Burke, then we know that Thursday's technically day 2 because Wednesday was a day 3, which reset to day 1, and now we're in day 2. But in the 3-day cycle, I'm not trying to make this confusing or anything, but it's just like, okay, we saw that markets broke out 3 times. We had the 3-day breakout trade that happened on this Wednesday here. So we're expecting that last push up. So Thursday, we can almost always expect a reversal of some kind. Now, sometimes it just keeps breaking out. That happens too. It just keeps breaking out, right? we'll get up here to the closing price level, and we're expecting it to do some fantastic things, like, and give us a reversal, but instead it keeps breaking out. That happens all the time. So when I see that, it's like, okay, we're resetting, we're continuing to go up. All right. So now what has happened, right? We've broken out of the previous day range. We came in on Thursday and we had a false break here. Now, I don't really like to use the false break unless I'm talking about an inside day, but nonetheless, it did break. It triggered, I guess I could say the word, it triggered the previous day high, right? And this is just letting us know that longs are still in the market. Okay. It triggers a previous day high, and then it comes in and it puts in a lower low, right? We're under the closing price. I think maybe this was news. I don't know. This is the euro. This happened earlier in the session. So of course I love to see that. So now we have this thing that triggered, right? When I get to the market, because I trade New York, I'm like, oh, okay. It triggered the high and continued to proceed underneath closing price. So we definitely have a reversal in play here for today. Okay. So then, by the end of the day, guys, what happens? It triggers the bottom. So now we have a day where it triggered both sides of the range, right? It triggered both sides of the range. And this right here is screaming to me that it's a reset. It's a day zero. Okay. So oftentimes we're going to see a parabolic trade setup show up. Sometimes, it may break all the way out here and then it closes back inside and it does this exact channel thing. Okay. It does this exact channel thing. And then, it proceeds to do the order flow, and then you have the dump and pump set up beautifully, right? So we get to Friday, right? And guess what we have Friday? Right, I am expecting this thing, because if it's going to break both sides of this range, I'm going to come into market expecting a market to reset. We already have a high, right? We have a high in the inside here. So these are all little bitty clues that you can use to leverage this to know which way you're going. Okay, so we have the high inside. It does not even come close to breaking this or triggering the lows again, but instead it breaks above, right? So it has to do all this stuff. So it broke above, right? And that right there, guys, confirms that right there confirms the reset. That's it right there. So now, when the market opens, this would just change to 1. Okay, it's going to change to the 1, and then we're going to expect, unless it fails and pull back, right? We are going to expect this thing. Let me just draw. This would be technically where it closed, right? We're going to expect this thing to proceed to auction above closing price. Okay. Now, where could it go? I don't know where it could go, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to look back. Let me put this on H1. Actually, let's go to H4. I mean, this thing is way back here that I'm seeing something, right? Way, way, way back there from January. Right? This could totally, now with the dashboard, you can project. You can automatically add the 3 ADRs to your preview. Like, you can turn it on or off, right? But oftentimes, if the most recent breakout is so far along, we're just going to use 3 ADR because that's still a legitimate measure to use, right? It's an average of the pips, right? The daily range, the range for each pair, right? So you're going to see that on here. So nonetheless, like I had mentioned, we do expect, now that this thing has broke out, right? It has closed in breakout, right? So it could possibly fail or continue, right? It looks like it may continue. Again, it could pull back The expectation, like I mentioned, is that, within closing price, that it gives us a high and then it starts to come back down, and then we get another high on the inside and it continues to proceed. Now, usually when we get these resets in the markets, it does that. It does a nice stair step pattern just like it did prior. But again, I just want you to know that that's the expectation, right? If it does in fact fail on Monday, or maybe it does nothing and goes sideways, we don't know. We just have to wait and see which way price is going to auction from this level, right? And being that it closed in breakout, right? So that's the day zeros, okay? That is definitely all that you need to know about a day zero. Did it break the other side, like day one of this parabolic trade setup? It's always going to do this, guys. I'm going to show you another example. Like here, let's just even just go back last week on euro. You don't even have to go that far, right? We just go back last week, okay? And we had the same thing happen. We had the breakout traders, right? Triggered previous day high. Oops. It does that sometimes. Let me get my pen where I can control it a little better. All right, so it triggered the previous day high. All right, so we have our first break. Another trigger here, our second break, and it's a high, right? And then, you can see how it dropped, right? And we have a higher high on the inside of here, another high, okay? So we know this thing is going long, all right? So it closed in breakout. Again, we broke out. So this, like I said, this is what I consider a trigger when it just pins it, or, it doesn't really break out. This is where it triggered it and then it broke out. And here we go. We straight up broke out of the range. So that's the third one. All right. So here we go again. We're in breakout. And again, most breakouts do fail. But after 3 days of breaking out, right, we should expect a reversal of some sort. I mean, that's just what you would expect unless this thing ends up resetting on that day, right? Now, if that example comes up, then I'll definitely show it. But oftentimes, this is when you can expect that reversal. And it's always like a parabolic style, because here we ended up breaking this high. It failed, and now we broke the low. Okay, so now I put resets. Okay, shorts failed. Right. Okay, so why did I do that? Because how it proceeded, right? It came back inside. Right, it came back inside, and then on Friday, it proceeded to trade above closing price. Because remember, if the shorts were going to play out, it would have broken out again on this level. It would have broke this again, and we would have known that we are going lower, but we're not. Okay, and we can see clearly that we broke out of both sides of this range. Okay, and that reset the longs back into the market. So now we're in a complete out of bounds market, right? So this is just a really cool examples where you can see when it breaks both sides of the range there. And then you don't want to, because this could have possibly shown up on the dashboard as a peak formation high, like it's going to go short because it did break that level, right? But you want to often wait, because this would technically be a first red day, right? It technically would be one. But this is where you want to wait, because you don't know if this thing is going to present an actual red trade, right? It could just reset this market to continue to go on long. And that's exactly what it did. Okay. So I hope that makes sense on the day zero. I know I have another example here. Was it gold? They're all over the place. So gold, now here's a day zero that's across 2 days, right? So this is last week. Okay, we're always going to start from Friday to Friday. I just like to do it that way. So on Friday, we broke out, closed out of balance. Monday was an inside day. Okay. And we could see right on the inside that we literally price triggered this level 3 times. Okay. So Asia got a reversal trade, right? Straight up 3 hits to the high. It reverses. It happens all the time. All right. And then for the rest of the session, in the earlier sessions, it was the long trade, because this also was the high for the higher high inside the dump and pump. Okay. So as we can see here, price broke out of this level. Okay. And then it came in and it put, it's still, every time I see that, I'm like, okay, they did put a peak low here. So I just pay attention to that because, I don't know what that means. But I'm just going to draw that level across for the next day, right? Because that's going to be an important level for, support or resistance. Okay. Don't know. So this next day happens. We break the low. All right. So remember, this was the first day we broke through the high. The second day we broke the low. And now we're like, okay, we have a reset now because we have this whole day zero thing. Now it showed us in 2 days, right? Instead of one day where it broke both sides of the range. It did not. It broke both sides of the range in 2 days. So now on this third day, right, we have this low here that we're going to project, right? And we're just going to go straight because we don't know what's going to happen. But the cool thing, what did happen was we had some signals here. We had lower lows right inside this range, right? Within this structure, this rectangle that we hear all about. Okay. And so that right there, my friends, is the sign that we're going to pump and dump. So it broke the low again. So this was going to possibly show up like it was going to be a new short trend coming in. But again, this red day, again, guys, a closing breakout. This is where breakouts fell, right? At closing breakout, it was projecting as a first red day. But again, remember this day zero setup. You're going to get this channel, this order flow thing here. Okay, you're going to see it every time. And we know that it's by the time you get to the market on Friday, you already know this thing is reversing, right? It's resetting. We have our pin down here. This is a sign for me, right? We got this, short squeeze type setup, if you will. But it's parabolic trade. I mean, it happens all the time, just like this with this order flow. All right. And I'm going to show you another example that happened on gold last Thursday. Same thing. You see how this broke out? Okay. So again, the day zero, Monday, we close and breakout. Tuesday was an inside day. Nothing really happened. And then here we had it pinned the low first thing. So it pinned the low. So that's a sign. So we get to the high, it breaks the high and it breaks it twice. So, I mean, this is like, okay, this is a sign that this thing is going to fail. All right. So, and it did. Broke through this low, close and breakout. And guess what happened the next day? It started to do the channel. But this time, instead of pinning to the low, guys, it pinned to the high. And it used the closing price. This was that breakout level from the closing price for this parabolic drop. Pin to the low again, guys. So again, here's where you're going to think, oh, we're going short, right? We're going short at pin to the low. We have it now broken out, right? So again, this signal, you have to wait. You have to wait till the next day to see what happened, because guess what? It closed back inside, right? It's back inside of the range. So here comes Friday and you're thinking, okay, we're probably going to short today. But then what's happening with price? We have a higher high inside, right? And then it proceeds to auction above closing price. It's now broken through this previous day high. Guys, we have a reset. Like, this is going long now, and then it closes out of balance. Okay. So that's how you do that. That's how you know what's up. Okay. That's it. That's why breakouts fail all the time. And you may be thinking you're coming into the market the next day saying, oh, but it's so funny because this is so funny. I just remembered, every time I listen to Stacy Burke talk, people would be telling him, but Stacy, it was the first red day. And he's like, well, how did price present? I mean, yeah, it is a first red day signal. Absolutely. It's a first red day signal. You know, I mean, well, actually, this one technically wasn't the first red day signal because price did close above. But you're going to see a lot of times where price closes below the open, and the next freaking day, it just continues to go long because the breakout failed, right? And that's what you have to be mindful of when you have a day zero setup like this. Okay, and here's the first day of the breaking of both sides of the range, and then the second day, right? It's faking you, making you think that it's going to go low if you miss this, okay, on how it closed, because it's so important on how it closed. And then where was that closing price level? Because if this thing closed this way and you're thinking we may continue to go short on the next day, you want to use this. This is your only level that you're going to be using to be like, are we going short? Right? Are we going to continue to break lows, or are we resetting and breaking highs? Right? That's the only level you should be looking at to see which way you're going to go. Okay? That's it. And, you know, that's all I have to say about that. Okay? I mean, that is the day zero, guys. It happens every week. Pay attention to it, you know, how price responded. And that's why it's very important that you have the high, low, previous day high and low on your charts. If you don't have this on your charts, you're not going to even realize what's happening in the markets. And I'm in MetaTrader 5. And if you're using MetaTrader 5, in the description of this video, you can grab that for free. The high and low auto indicator also comes with the closing price. Okay. The high, low, open, and close. I only use the high, low, and then the close because that's all I really need to see. Okay, those levels. Now, the profit taker's dashboard, you don't even need to have it, right? But it just helps you to see at a bird's eye view, where is the market at, right? We can see this one's already broken out. All right, another day zero example. This is the Russell, right? The Russell did the same thing, okay? This one took a little bit longer for this one to reverse and do the parabolic trade, but check it out. It broke out on Monday, closed and breakout, okay? And usually we're expecting, what are we expecting? We're expecting this thing to proceed on long, but it did not do that, right? When I get to the market, I'm seeing that it broke this level. It triggered, this blue line is a breakout level from a previous week, right? I just extended that out, right, as another level of just like, if there are breakout levels close by, I'm going to extend them out because that could be resistance. Okay. So, it broke up, it failed. By the time it was my session, right, we were taking entries at closing price. So again, it broke both sides of the range. And then guess what happened the next day? We had this crazy parabolic channel. It was not a very pretty one because it looks like we had news based on, you know, what this is right here. Every time you see something like that, it looks like, you know, we had some news, right? So this one did the same thing, right? It gave us a parabolic trade towards the end of the session there. Again, this was an inside day, right? Because it stayed within the range. So now we have an inside day. Again, we are looking at this level has been pretty strong, right? This breakout level, whatever that is, has been pretty strong because on Thursday, we're coming back to this level once again, right? And it just triggers this high and it fails, right? It triggered it again, it failed. Now, Thursday, we did not trigger the previous day low, right? The way it closed slightly above it. And then again, parabolic setup once again. And this time it was a beautiful, clear, parabolic breaking through the high. So once it did that, guys, once it broke this level, I was like, okay, we're good, right? Because it broke the low down here. Okay. And so now you're waiting for it to break the high again. So it broke it here. Now, again, it shows up as a reset. on the dashboard, right? So now I'm just waiting to see how this is going to respond for Monday. Are we going to be able to use closing price as our entry for the long trade? Or is it going to fail at closing price and proceed to come on down? It could do that. The Russell is just, it breaks, it fails all the time. You just have to be mindful of that. All right. That's what it means when we have a day zero set up, the parabolic trade that happens from the day zero, and you know how it looks, because we see it happen all the time. Look at this one right here. This was almost 2 weeks ago. We hit both sides of the range. It triggered the low, triggered the high, closing breakout, broke out, and then boom, it stopped. And then we continued to, we reversed. Okay. So what are we thinking? We're thinking, oh, we could totally it could totally be short. Because I was thinking, oh, we could totally be short. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen until the day comes. All right. And here's the one good example where it did close below the open, right? Because here's the open and here's the close. So this would give you a first red day. But again, like I mentioned, and like Stacy says all the time, how did price present? What did the market do? Well, we have this high from New York here. Okay. We have the higher high that's inside. Okay. And now we came here. We did a low hanging fruit trade for the London session. We got to the previous day low and we failed. Boom. We just reset once more. Another parabolic. Look at that parabolic trade that's hidden in a low hanging fruit. This is actually a parabolic trade setup that you can actually trade the short, where most of the times when you see that, you're not really able to, you can't really trade it, right? Like, are you really going to try to take this long, like from right here, right? Are you going to try to do that from right there? No, not really. I mean, I'm not really trying to take this long from over here before it actually does something. I'm not trying to do all that. Right. So yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Wish there was more I could say about that. But again, watch how price responds to the levels on the day and what it does on the following day, especially if you think that you're going to be having a signal day for a first red day or first green day, or if the dashboard, because the dashboard is a trend algo. It doesn't know. It's just responding to how price responded, right? So you could totally have, again, a first red day. This could be the peak high. Let me go back here because I remember this day clearly on Russell, right? I was looking at this. I was like, oh, we got a peak high, right? We got this new peak high. So I was going to, I had marked that level and I was like, oh, we got a peak high. Now I got to wait to see, right? Is this low that's being triggered going to be the lower low? Right? And then we continue to go shorter or not, right? And the way, just looking at how this thing's set up, it's just too many things, guys. Way too many things that are showing us that we are not going short. Okay? And that we're going to break that high. So I remember this one changing to a day zero. And then, of course, because it's a day zero on the day, and then after 5 o'clock, the indicator is going to change from 0 to 1 peak high, right? But don't let that algo have you thinking you're going to go short until after it did actually go short. I mean, like I said, this was a tradable low hanging fruit trade for the London session into the previous day low, which, if that was my session, I could have perhaps taken that one. Okay. Because we did get that signal there. But for my session, that's not what happened, right? We had the official day zero reset there as well. Okay. All right, guys. That is all I have for now. If you enjoyed this video, please please subscribe, or make a comment. Either one of those helps with the algo, right? We all know about the YouTube algo and how it works. So show some love, And we'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.